What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Spoozy Breezy. Yeah, I don't want to say I'm back. I just, back to doing what I used to do. Sorry for being gone so long. Ran into a lot of people who said that, they like my videos and whatnot. For the time span that I've been gone, and I thought I'd come back with, a deck profile, letting y'all see what I've been running, since y'all haven't really heard from me too much, since, I ain't been on the radar of YouTube, the best thing I can say is just life simply intervened. So, but, just for further ado, I'll just go straight into the deck profile and I'll explain things as I go. 3 Psy-Frame driver, you can't run the deck unless you have 3 driver. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Um, Triple alpha. Alpha allows you to summon itself, and he's the searcher. Um, Mind you, all of the side frames have the built-in mechanic. You can't activate their effects if you don't control no monsters. As long as you control no monsters, you can summon them. So as long as up on activation, if you control no monsters, you can chain them and all that shit, and though you can end up getting 4 monsters on the board and their effects rollers off. This is Gamma, the effect negator. He negates monster effects, anywhere. It doesn't matter where they happen, in the hand, the graveyard, banished area, anywhere that a monster effect happens, it doesn't matter. It can be negated with Gamma. I don't know why people think you can't negate a monster effect. Like, there's a few people of mine, I don't know, I think that I call them scrubs in my opinion. They think that you cannot negate a monster effect that resolves in the graveyard. They think it can't be targeted. Well, it's not necessarily targeting, and none of the Psy-Frame cards target at all. So, I mean, you can negate it. It negates stuff just like Cyber Dragon Infinity. I mean, Cyber Dragon Infinity can negate anything. Beta, this is the guy who negates monster effects, negates attacks and ends the battle phase. It works like Swift Scarecrow, Battle Fader, hell, Valkyrus, but it summons itself and another Psy-Frame driver. This is Delta. This is the one that negates spell cards. This also another reason why I run 3, because I used to run 2. Pendulum monsters kind of spell cards, and you can negate their activation when they first place them in the pendulum zone with this. Instead of them going to the extra deck, they'll go to the graveyard. So, like, if you ever play Cleaforge, they only got 1 scout. They play scout, boom. You negate it with this, it goes to the graveyard, and no more scout. I run 2 of Epsilon. This is the trap negator. He negates traps. I do want to apologize about the glare. I'll make them so that you guys can see him. But yeah, this guy negates traps. This is the trap guy. I run 2. Now I used to just run 1. But with the problem that I've been seeing with Psy-Frames is that, there's a lot of times where people get smart and activate stuff during the end phase, such as Call the Haunteds, traps that are best activated in the end phase, like that Mermail card, the trap. A lot of people activate stuff during the end phase because I was having a lot of trouble with duality. You'd run duality, and then you can't use your monster effects you can't resolve your monster effects at the end phase because it's still during the turn, and you can't special summon until your turn is completely over. So that's another reason why I'm running this. And I run 1 Card D. I know I've seen a lot of Psy-Frame decks run 3, 2, but I just like it at 1 because, it gets real cloggy. Even at 2, like, there's times where, like, first of all, let me say this. If you're playing Psy-Frames, there's no reason why you should not at least keep 2 cards in your hand. Okay, i.e., meaning you need to keep two Psy-Frames in your hand, and you need to. This deck is the type of deck that you just don't go gun ho. Oh yeah, he activated the rotor. Let's play Delta. Boom. You know what I'm saying? You don't negate every fucking thing that you tried that your opponent first does. You know, especially if they're playing a deck like Pepe. You'll fuck yourself up doing that. You gotta play smart with this deck. And that's part of the reason why I run Cardia. One, because, late game, if you draw this, okay, it's somewhat good. Opening hand, if you draw this and two other, and like, there's been times where I had this at 2 and 3 where I've opened up all 3 of them, and it's like, oh my god. I mean, yeah, that's a chance you get. It's Yu-Gi-Oh, but I just like it at 1. And that's all for the monsters. Oh man, these motherfuckers just won't go in here. For the spells, I got their field spells, 3 Psy-Frame Circuit. Amazing card. I think it's an amazing card. It's the honest of the deck. I mean, not, it's attacking effect you usually don't get, but this card allows you to do stuff during your opponent's turn. So if you so if a Psy-Frame monster gets summoned, it automatically starts a new chain after the other chain link effects. After the first chain resolves, it will automatically start a new chain. Automatically. And its secondary effect is, if a Psy-Frame monster would battle a monster, during the damage step, you can discard 1 Psy-Frame monster from your hand to the graveyard, and that monster will gain attack equal to the discarded monster you discard to the graveyard. So it's pretty good. This is your out the tower, even though tower doesn't exist no more. But it's your out to any monster that's over 2,800. 3 Upstart Goblin, just for consistency. I don't care who you are. If you run Upstart Goblin, it's either you run 3 or you run none of it. I mean, yeah, I've seen people run 1, but come on, really? It just, in my opinion, it's either 3 or none. It's like if you run 40 cards, you actually run 37. So you do the math and you do the math and you tell me on what you think. 3 Psychic Field Zone, another amazing card, because your Psy-Frame monsters, if you don't have the field spell out, they get banished. You actually do a lot of banishing in this deck. So, with Psychic Field Zone, it allows you to get back your drivers, and also with the Psy-Frame monsters, they're allowed to special summon a Psy-Frame driver from hand deck or graveyard. So if they're all banished, you can't summon your monster. If you can't summon a driver, you can't use the effect. So Psychic Field Zone puts them back in the graveyard, and there's a lot of pretty cool, nifty plays, overpowering plays you can do with Psychic Field Zone, and with a couple of your extra deck monsters that I'll explain when I get to it. 2 Emergency Teleport. Emergency Teleport I think is real good in this deck because you can, with the field spell allowing you to synchro summon during your opponent's turn, for any time a Psy-Frame monster hits the field, this hits the field, you can make all this also helps disrupt your opponent's plays, and then synchroing for, your Omegas or your Zetas or, or anything else that you can come up with. 2 Miracle Synchro Fusion. This is really in here just because, late game, Ultimate Axon Kicker is boss. And when you're running into time, because I run into time a lot with this deck, so, the best thing to do is if you really can't kill your opponent, this isn't the type of deck that it's not an OTK deck. This is a counteracting deck. So 9 times out of 10, like majority of the times, anytime I played at locals, which has been a long time, and playing with friends and whatever, sometimes we'll do a little time thing. Going into time with this, with Ultimate Axon Kicker on board, with every monster that you destroy from your opponent, you gain life points. Life points is a big deal, especially when you're running in time. So ultimate Axon Kicker is, I think, late game. I mean, I've made it several times late game, and people just, after they used all their outs like Raigekis, Dark Holes, all their monsters that want to return shit, it's like they can't get over it. Two MST because I don't like fuck. I hate being stopped by stuff like Vanity's Emptiness. I hate being stopped by stuff like, I don't want to say lose a turn, but skill drain and that sort of stuff. So that's why MST's in here. And one Raigeki just to clear boards, and it's just too good not to. Oh yeah, I don't run duality in here because, as I was saying before, like I said, people have been getting smart against Psy-Frames and doing stuff during the Psy-Frame player's end phase, and you can't do anything. So with that, I run 3 Reckless Greed. Another why I run Reckless Greed is once again because of duality. I also don't like running duality because it also gives your opponent hand advantage. Not really hand advantage, I mean card knowledge. With that card knowledge that you get off of duality, you just flip over 3 cards. They see what 3 cards you are, and they're obviously going to see which card you pick. So, and plus, I've grabbed cards like, Beta, the one that negates attacks. People have played around it and, did certain things, so I'd play it, and then and I lost because of it, just because of duality. And same thing with Gamma, same thing with the spell guide. People just play around it, especially if they know what you got. So it's better, in my opinion, it's better for them not to know what you have playing this deck, because they can play around the stuff that you have. It's not hard. I mean, I've done it when I used to play Cleaforts and I went against Psy-Frames. I mean, I knew what to do and what not to do. So, and plus, you can draw during your opponent's turn. Yes, it locks you out, your draw phase out for 2 turns, but sometimes with the cards you draw, it really doesn't matter. And 3 Psy-Frame Omega, Overload. Psy-Frame Overload. This card's busted. It banishes cards face down, and your opponent can never get them back ever. Like, they can't barrel from a different dimension cards that you banish. They can't Leviair them. There's nothing that they can possibly, like, I can't even think of a card in existence that allows you to target face down banish cards. So on to the extra deck. The extra deck is, it's still a little BS. I just got a whole bunch of stuff thrown in here, but a lot of stuff's real good. I got 2 Omega cards, real good. Takes cards out your hands, recycles your banished cards. And one thing that you can do with him is, say if you have this, because this card's secondary, Overlord secondary effect is you can banish it, add a Psy-Frame card from your deck to hand except itself. So, it'd be banished. You can use Omega's standby phase effect during your opponent's turn to return this back to the graveyard, and in the same turn you can banish it again and add a Psy-Frame card from your deck to hand. It works because Psy-Frame Omega's effect says return back to the graveyard, and this card says you can't activate this effect during the turn it is sent to the graveyard. So it's a real nifty wording loop to be able to keep using it multiple times. So 2 Zeta. And Omega has the effect that you can return it back to its extra deck and shuffle a card in either player's graveyard back into the deck. So, against Shadal's, they want to, El Shadal Fusion or just breakthrough skills. Just simple cards that are annoying that your opponent can do. 2 Zeta. I'm thinking about upping this up to 3. Because there's been times where it's like, well, fuck, shit, I might as well just put another one on board. And I already got 2, and it's like, I can't. But Zeta's real good. His effect is you banish a face-up attack position monster until your next standby phase. And it also has a recycling effect to return itself to the extra deck and add 1 Psy-Frame card from your graveyard to your hand. So, essentially, you really don't need 3. But I like to abuse their effects as much as possible, so I like to run. plan on running 3. Well, actually, I do run 3 Zeta. Oops. I thought I didn't have the third one in here. Oh well, but yeah, but well, like I said, it's been times even with the same thing of Omega. Um, no, I run Zora. I run this because there's been times where my opponents did stuff, and I've had a overload on board, and his affected and Zephyr's affected. Zero's affected is if you don't know, if it gets banished, it'll during the next standby phase? Yeah, during the next standby phase, if it was banished, it'll special summon itself back. So not only that, it also gains 100, 200. Yeah, 100 attack for every card that's banished of your opponents. So, say you summon it, your opponent bottomlesses it, and you banish it with you use your own overlord to banish it. It'll come back. It'll come back during your next standby phase. Which is really, really good because, it stays off your board and you can keep doing what you need to do. One Colossal Fighter, just for other warrior decks and just do stuff. Thought World Archfiend. Yazzie, Yangzine, because, it's another card that gets itself off the board. Stardust Dragon with the same thing as with the Yangzing card, gets itself off the board. Moonlight Rose, I'm thinking about taking it out for another Black Rose Dragon because there's been several times when I've needed to make 2 Black Rose to win and I couldn't do it. 1 Ancient Fairy Dragon for other decks that use field spells, and it's basically for me to be able to search my field spell. 1 Michael, I never really make it. Never ever have I ever made it, so I'm probably gonna take it out for something that would be more likely to be made. And 1, Dragon of Rebirth. I never ever make it. I just thought it would be in here in case, put a monster for me back on the board, something that I need. But yeah, the extra deck yet isn't completely complete. I don't really have a side deck, but some of the cards I'm considering about putting in the side deck, another MST, a macro, and a D-Fissure. I'm thinking about even going back to manning macro and D-Fissure just because, banishing your own stuff doesn't hurt you at all. I mean, especially if you have Psychic Field Zones in hand and, it doesn't really hurt. Thunder King just to stop searching, the other MST. But, like, rate, subscribe, leave a comment to what you guys think about the Psy-Frame deck. Like I said, I didn't quit Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm kind of getting back into the flow of it. So I'm always down for suggestions. So let me know what you guys think, and I'm out.